Is transgenderism logical? Well, that title certainly isn't, and I don't know what transgenderism is. Welcome to the video. Hey Spuds, it's Jamie, how's it going? Welcome back to another video, the first video on our channel. I don't know, but welcome either way. I'm very glad to have you here, and today we're going to be dismantling some transphobia. Love dismantling a bit of transphobia. Do not love that there is transphobia that needs to be dismantled, but it is very easy to pick apart and just be like, oh my goodness, none of this even makes sense because it's all based on bullshit. Vivian, bullshit. So typically not that difficult to just be like, yeah, that's wrong, or there's literal scientific evidence, or the existence of trans people very easily just disproves everything this person is saying. So today's video is called Is Transgenderism Logical? Already they are losing so many points for using the word transgenderism in a serious way. So I think this one should be a lot of fun. Are you ready? Before we do dive into it, I want to give a little self-promotion, a shout out to me, because I've written a book. Ta-da! It's a very trans-positive book, trans-friendly, lovely, wonderful. Well, I hope you find it lovely and wonderful. It's part memoir of my own personal journey and part self-help guide to give people information about coming out, figuring yourself out, being a better ally, all of that stuff. Everything you need to know about being trans, basically. It's called the T and LGBT. If you want to go check it out, there is a link in the description box and as a pinned comment. No pressure. And if you're not in the UK, you can still order it. I think the best place is Amazon or Waterstones. There's links to both of those. So yeah, go check it out if you want to. Thank you very much. And I'm going to move on now before I get too awkward. Yay!
You're in a conversation and someone says, gender identity is reality. The only way to know someone's gender is to ask. What would you say?
Good to know. I mean, we can't see gender. We can see gender expressions. If people are in a certain state of undress, we can see certain aspects of assigned birth sex or surgeries that have been had, blah, blah, blah. But in terms of like gender, you can't see it. So yes, the only way to know for sure is to ask somebody. Thanks for sharing.
Today, some people distinguish between biological sex and gender identity. We're told they are unrelated.
Sorry, I have to pause it again because he's like, today, some people distinguish. No, mister, I didn't catch your name. It's not just today. It's just suddenly come onto your radar recently, but actually trans people, trans identities have been recognized throughout a very long time in history. As far back as you can look, trans people have existed and in certain cultures have been recognized. There's just some cultures that seem completely freaked out by the idea of trans people. And now that trans people have gained some minimal level of visibility, oh my goodness, this brand newfangled thing,
Meaning, your body has nothing to do with your gender.
Yes, your assigned sex, so like the way you physically appear at birth, and your gender identity do not have to be the same thing. They do not have to be related to one another as we would typically expect them to be, hence why trans people exist.
Further, we're told that some people are born into the wrong body. While gender dysphoria is a real and challenging situation, the logic used to justify gender identity as the basis of reality is just as challenging, but in a different way.
What is he on about? I'm going to say some words and hope that they make sense to people listening. They don't. So he's saying gender dysphoria, yes, real and challenging, but gender identity, questionable. I don't believe this other thing exists. Reading between the lines, honestly, that sounds like an advocacy for conversion therapy. I'm not going to say for definite or make a judgment just yet, just expressing that what's been said so far, that is how it comes across. If people are like, I don't think you can be trans and that gender identity is a separate thing to your physical body, but I do think gender dysphoria is a real and challenging thing. Because, the proven treatment to make people feel better and improve their well-being with gender dysphoria is gender-affirming care. So things like hormone replacement therapy. So that very much disproves what he's saying.
And here are 3 reasons why.
Oh, 3 reasons.
First, feelings don't determine reality anywhere else. They shouldn't determine gender either.
That's like a pseudo-intellectual way of saying facts don't care about your feelings. Really, feelings don't determine facts when it comes to transphobes. Transphobes, their feeling is that trans people aren't valid and that they don't like trans people and that trans people don't exist and aren't real, but that doesn't make what they're feeling factual. It just makes them transphobic. In reality, facts support trans people and don't care about the feelings of transphobes. So, cool.
The desire to support a friend is understandable, even noble. but we have to think at least as deeply as we feel. We don't allow feelings to determine our age, height, weight, or species. All those things are—
Oh, this has so many transphobic tropes and we're only a minute in. This video's been packaged like ever so nicely and like, oh yeah, support a friend. Yes, gender dysphoria is challenging. But this and this. It's attempting to sound reasonable and academic when it's not. It's just transphobia. It's basically a nicely packaged version of transphobes joking, oh, if you're transgender, then I'm actually 20, even though my birth certificate says I'm 50. Like that's what it is. Or people saying I'm trans slender, or I'm now identifying as a cat. Meow meow.
I am a cat. Meow meow.
Those things are not related to gender. You can't take something like age or species and be like, oh well, if you can't be like trans-aged or trans-specied, then you can't be transgender. What is that logic? That logic is just based off of not liking trans people and not believing that trans people are real.
Objectively determined for us at birth.
At birth, sorry for pausing so much, but there is so much wrong. Yes, I'm still 7 pounds 2 ounces and 50 centimeters tall, because my height and my weight were determined for me at birth. Like, what is he going on about? Also, your height and weight could be heavily influenced by your environment. Not that they're related to gender, not that you can take them and compare them to being transgender, but it's just such a weird thing to be like, yeah, these things are determined at birth. Since when?
Even if we were adopted, we can't change who our parents are or the influence of their DNA.
But when you're adopted, your parents become the people who adopted you. You're not just being rude to trans people now. Sure, you have different people who biologically created you. They provided the little bags of DNA that made you in terms of your genetics. But your parents, they're not your parents. They're not the ones who have raised you and loved you. Parents are not just parents because of DNA and biology. No. So technically, your parents did change once you were adopted. Oh my goodness. Look at that. There's also emancipation, so you can legally separate yourself fully from your parents, whether you're adopted or biologically related from them. This is actually a very bad example for them to use in the context of speaking around trans people and gender and biology, because sure, when you're adopted, you have a biological past, but biology doesn't dictate who your family are going forward and who your family always have been. When, you know, if you're adopted, that's your family. It's just genes at the end of the day. Whether you're adopted or a sperm donor or an egg donor was used, your family are your family and they're the ones who raised you and adopted you or required the donors. The donors or the biological relations are just that. They're just the biology. They're just the biological past. They're not actually your parents or your family. Basically, what I'm waffling on trying to say is that a lack of shared genetics does not change the fact that your parents are still your parents. I will require a sperm donor to have children, but I will still be that child's father, despite the lack of biological connection. This is being rude to a lot of different types of people, just to try and be transphobic. Interesting choice.
Thin people who feel overweight are called and we try to help them. It's cruel to affirm their need to lose weight and watch them starve. The compassionate thing to do is be kind and help them see themselves as they really are.
Well, it's definitely giving me more and more red flags of like advocating for conversion therapy of trans people. Just what he's saying. He just compared being trans to something else that I have to cut out to avoid both triggers to people watching and also in terms of YouTube being happy with it. But it is a comparison I've heard before and it's just such a disrespectful comparison all around. It's very rude and not one that is fair or makes sense. So far he's compared gender identity and being transgender to multiple different things like adoption, height, weight, etc. All things that have nothing to do with gender and nothing to do with being trans, and all things that are just very different, and it doesn't make sense to me why he's trying to make these comparisons. You can't take an orange and say that it looks very different to a pear and therefore that must mean that orange isn't a fruit because it doesn't look like a pear. Like, it's just, why are you trying to make comparisons? No, I know why they're trying to make comparisons. It's because they're just sat there going, I don't like this. I don't think it's real. I need an excuse for not thinking this and I need to make other people believe that it's also not real. Let me do some comparisons and say some words, but they don't really make sense because I don't actually understand anything about what I'm talking about.
Which leads to the second point.
Joy.
If gender is a social construct, you can't be born in the wrong body.
I mean, born in the wrong body is an outdated phrase now anyway, and it's a phrase that was used as an easy way to explain to cis people like this and other cis people. It was basically intended as an easy kind of one sentence way to encapsulate generally what it feels like to be trans, but it's not used by many trans people, and it's a vast oversimplification of the trans experience. It's frustratingly hilarious to see transphobes using this deliberately oversimplified description of being trans in their argument about why being trans isn't logical.
In an effort to explain transgenderism, we're told that gender is a social construct. By this, they mean that gender is not rooted in any fixed reality, but in our preferences and cultural norms.
To me, what he just described is gender expression.
And since gender is a social construct, they say, male and female have no fixed definition. Here's the challenge with this logic.
I mean, male and female are typically the words we use for biological sex, like the two binary sexes. Anybody give me a definition that actually encapsulates all the people you're trying to include and excludes everyone you're trying to exclude. This is what's happening with the whole, well, tell me what a woman is then, that transphobes think is a gotcha for trans supporters and trans people. They also cannot provide a definition of that.
If male and female cannot be objectively defined, it's not possible to be born into the wrong body. If you can't be right, you can't be wrong either.
I don't get his logic, and I have a feeling he doesn't get it either. Like, has he given a definition? And like I said, being born in the wrong body is not something used anymore broadly across the trans community. It really just comes across like the whole logic around them saying gender identity isn't real is basically them going, it's something I can't see, and if I can't see it, then it doesn't exist. Which is ridiculous. How many things can we not see, but they are very much real? How many things do you not understand, but you know they're very much real?
In the world they offer us, where gender is simply a matter of feelings and opinions, there's no such thing as a male or female body. A man or a woman can be born into any kind of body. Yet, 10 seconds later, they tell us that some people are born into the wrong body.
So he's used both male and female and man and woman as separate terms, but also interchangeably, but some of it indicates that he knows that they're separate terms used in separate ways. I don't know. But then he's just solely reliant on this whole like, oh, I gotcha, on this whole sentence of born in the wrong body. Like, he is just fixated on that. He's also forgetting that cis people have a gender as well. It's just the same as their assigned birth sex, and not something they'll have ever really had to think about, most likely.
This is like giving a child a test and telling them there are no right answers to the questions, but there are wrong answers. You should expect confusion.
You should expect confusion. That sounds like a warning. It's like trans people expect confusion. And it's like, yeah, we do. But also, to get rid of that confusion, just listen to what trans people have to say. But also, being trans and like you trying to break down the logic of being trans is not like comparing it to a multiple choice test that a kid is doing. Like, what are you trying to do? His logic is just tied in so many knots that it doesn't make sense. I'm confused. And I feel like maybe he might have been confused making this video too, because I don't know how anybody could make sense of what he's saying. It's just very obvious that he doesn't understand or know anything about trans people, about the group of people that he is presenting a video on to be shit and just spread not very nice things. And when you're trying to argue against something that you just fundamentally do not understand and don't even try to understand and don't know anything about, you are not going to make logical, sensical points. That it just doesn't happen, and that's why we see videos like this.
The intentions are no doubt good, but the logic is not.
Well, that's ironic. The logic is not good.
Which leads to the third point.
Point number 3.
If there is no clear definition of a man or woman, it's not possible to feel like a woman. We're told that some people born with male bodies feel like a woman, and vice versa. We are expected to accept that those feelings determine their reality.
You're expected to be respectful. If you don't believe it, if that is not the way you see the world and you don't want to accept people for what they are, you don't have to. Nobody's forcing you. All that is requested you do is you don't make videos like this about something you clearly don't understand. Don't campaign to take away the rights of a group of people that you don't understand, or campaign to take away access to healthcare, or put restrictions on their lives, or spread discrimination and hate and and lies and fear-mongering about a group of people that you don't even take the time to speak to or try to understand. If you don't understand it and you don't want to and you don't agree with it, fine. Carry on living your life with that viewpoint. Just stay out of trans people's lives and trans people's business, because all we're trying to do is live. And it irritates me so much that people are like, oh, I don't understand this trans thing. Oh, it's bad, blah, 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 blah. Why is this happening? And literally doesn't affect your life. You're just being an asshole. This is honestly just, I don't know whether this was a group or just an individual person that made this video, but somebody or some people making a video going, I can't see something and I don't understand it, therefore I don't think it's real, and I'm going to make a video about how I don't think it's real and make up reasons why I don't think it's real, but it's not going to really make sense because I don't understand what I'm talking about. That summarizes this video.
The problem is that the same people who tell us that some men feel like a woman also tell us that there is nothing unique about being a woman.
Provide a definition of woman yourself then. He has also not provided any definitions. None. Nice bit of misgendering going on there, thank you.
The headlines assure us that men can give birth and women can be fathers.
Yes, not only women can give birth. Some people who are not women can carry and have children. And also, shocker, being a woman is not all about being able to give birth to a child. That is not what a woman is. Is that what he means when he says if there's nothing unique about being a woman, how can you feel blah blah blah? Because it sounds like what he's saying is the unique thing about being a woman is carrying a child, like their reproductive ability, which is just very, very reductive and rude. Wow, I thought we were moving beyond that. It feels like some people are so determined to hate on trans people and find a way to disprove the validity of the trans community that they are just throwing anybody and everybody else under the bus. And
this begs the question. If the ability to birth a child doesn't make you a woman, why would a feeling make you a woman?
Oh, that is where he was going. Ew. That is what he was trying. Oh, look, the emoji has lips. Okay, so he was trying to say that the ability to give birth is what makes you a woman. That is the unique thing about being a woman. Your ability to give birth is not what determines whether you are a woman. Many cis women cannot give birth for many different reasons. Then trans women cannot give birth. And then many trans men can give birth. You're invalidating so many people, and not just trans people. So you're not even just invalidating the group of people that you want to invalidate. You're invalidating the group of people that you're pretending you care about the rights of when you're being transphobic.
How can anything be uniquely female? We all want to be kind, and we want to respect the fact that other people's experiences are different than our own.
Cool. So you make an entire video not being kind to trans people, not respecting trans people's experiences. Great, cool, nice.
But we need to think at least as deeply as we feel. Good intentions aside, the logic of transgenderism is incoherent.
What coherent argument have you given to explain that and come to that conclusion? None. You can't just babble on about nothing solid and basically just spend 4 minutes going, I can't see it, so therefore it's not real, and women give birth and that's what makes them women, so therefore transgender people. that's what you've done. It doesn't prove anything.
So next time someone tells you that gender identity determines your gender, remember these 3 things.
Gender identity is your gender. Oh. Summarize in one sentence to really hammer home that you don't know what you're talking about. Go. He just said it.
Feelings don't determine reality anywhere else. They shouldn't determine our gender either. Our height, eye color, genes, race, and even our gender are beyond our control.
Science literally supports trans people though. Gender is beyond our control. I didn't choose to be or choose to feel the way I feel. But yes, thank you for agreeing that things are beyond our control, which is actually why conversion therapy doesn't work. It's why it's very well evidenced that socially and medically transitioning reduces anxiety, reduces depression, reduces gender dysphoria, and overall increases well-being and quality of life for trans people.
If gender is a social construct, you can't be born into the wrong body. If there's no such thing as a male or female body, it's not possible to be born into the wrong body. If there's no clear definition of a man or woman, it's not possible to feel like a woman. If childbirth isn't uniquely female, how can a feeling be?
Oh, it's so uncomfortable. Not everything in life is so black and white, and if that's how you view the world, it is so incredibly rigid. So much stuff must not make sense. People, humans, do not fit into these binary, neatly defined, rigid expectations and definitions, and never have. If we go with female on a rigid definition, it's somebody who can give birth and has ovum. Right? This guy uses woman and female interchangeably and does not think that gender can be separate from physical biological sex. So based on that, he would believe that a woman is somebody who can give birth to a child and has ovum. But not every cis woman has or can do these things. Not every woman has XX chromosomes, and I'm not even talking about trans women in that context. Not every woman can do these rigidly boxed in things that transphobes keep turning to for a definition in a way to desperately exclude trans women from that definition. He has basically just said, I don't know anything about trans people, so let me make this video and try and sound semi-intellectual with my transphobia. I'm gonna package it up into a little infomercial clip and not come across like I'm being a total arsehole. I'm gonna compare being trans to height and weight. Oh, and what? Temperature, just anything else. Oh, and age. Sorry, I forgot age. That's a very important one. You also said transgenderism, unironically, a lot throughout the whole video. Big no. Just to prove how little he understands. And then he also said, I can't see feelings. I can't see gender. If gender is a feeling, it doesn't exist because things we can't see don't. That's what he was going on about. It's what? So anything that you can't see just doesn't exist, because that's what it feels like you were saying. That was it. What did we think of that video? Think about giving it a thumbs up and subscribing if you want to, but no pressure. And yeah, just remember, transphobia is not logical, is not factual, and is just hateful and bigoted. That's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Much love. Bye.